So if you are not vocal for animals, you're not doing enough.
Hey beautiful beings, it's Rebecca, the Vegan Pixie Warrior. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm interviewing Nitin. He is an animal rights activist from Bangalore in India. He's an amazing and passionate animal rights activist. I'm hoping by the end of this video you'll be inspired to get involved in some activism. I'm also hoping that any of you watching in the area of Bangalore will be inspired to get in touch with Nitin and find out more about how to get involved with him. Enjoy the video. So hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. If you want to say hello to the viewers and introduce yourself.
Hey, this is Nitin Jain from India. So particularly I'm based in Bangalore, where I'm co-founded Bengaluru Brigade for Animal Liberation, which is an animal rights group in Bangalore. And then I got associated with Vegan India Movement. Currently, I'm one of the core member. And yeah, Vegan India Movement is essentially a vegan movement which do chapters across India, and they do monthly events for animal rights.
Brilliant.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I do, other than my work.
And can I ask you how you became vegan? What inspired you to become vegan? What made that change within you?
So basically, from childhood, I had this alignment towards ahimsa, and I have been doing things as I was gaining knowledge about it. So I remember as a child, I gave up using a lot of soaps, and because they said there's animal fats in the soap. So we, not just me, my sister, and like we were a group, like me, my sister, my cousin. We used to give up together. And similarly, like as we used to know about things, we used to like, okay, let's not do this. Let's stop doing this. So that's what I have been doing. And we were against slavery right from childhood. And ahimsa, which translates to uh, not just killing someone, but not harming someone unintentionally, not harming anyone intentionally. Essentially, that's what it means. And when we talk about harm, it doesn't mean only killing. It also means not beating them, not enslaving them, not maiming them, not giving them any discomfort or displeasure, essentially. So that's basically what I've been following. And it was, I think, 2012. Yeah, it was 2012. Uh, by that time, I was clearly against animal riding. I was, of course, I never used leather or silk or honey for that matter. And the dairy was the only thing which was in there. Otherwise, I was vegan. So, yeah, I mean, we've never thought about it. Like, I am raised in a society where we never questioned this. We never thought where it's coming from. And I have been consuming dairy till then. So, in 2012, I was in United States in California, and there's my friend. I mean, she was vegetarian then, and I was Jain vegetarian, basically, which means not just vegetarian, but not supporting animal slavery also, except dairy. So, yeah, I told her about all these things, and she was like, okay. And next time we meet, she's vegan, and I'm still the same person. And I asked her, like, what's the problem in dairy? And she said, there's violence in as well. So that's basically started my search from there. So one time she had to visit my place. So I joined some a group of vegan friends, and I just wanted to know what are the items uh, that I can bring to her, because also I also used to read all the ingredients in the items. I never trusted the stuff I got in United States particularly. So I used to read everything, and so I joined the group, and I realized like there's issue with dairy as well, and a lot of male calves are killed, and this only triggered me to do further investigation. And I saw this video by Channel 4 where they shot the male calves by a shotgun. And there was the time I decided, okay, I'm not going to consume any dairy in the United States. But I was still under the impression that, okay, in India it doesn't happen. It's all good. So it's like, okay, I'll only take ghee from India, and United States, I'm not going to take any dairy. And this continued for some 6 months. And and it was this time of month again where our fasting season starts for Jains. So I decided, okay, in these 10 days, it's called Daslakshan Dharma. Like there are 10 uh, characteristic of dharma associated with all these 10 days. So I decided, okay, I'm not going to consume dairy in these 10 days at least. And that was the time I decided, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore because I realized uh, it will come from violence. But I was still not abolitionist then. I still used to think there might exist gaushalas where we can get dairy without cruelty. Because I didn't realize that if we need to take dairy, it has to come from slavery. Cows are not willingly going to give us their milk. They only willingly give their milk to their babies. And that realization I had some 6-7 months later. Because all the time, I mean, all the posters I've been seeing, they were only talking about the cruelty aspect. They weren't talking essentially about uh, it's problematic, inherently problematic. It's we are seeing animals as commodities, which is problematic. I think I also came across Gary Francione. I mean, he's a popular animal rights person in United States. You might have heard of his name as well.
Yeah, it was the same thing for me. It was the dairy cows. That's what made me go vegan. I watched a calf being taken from its mother, and I watched the mother chasing after her baby, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I can't be a part of this anymore. So it seems to be a common thread. The dairy cow seems to be the one that gets to people, I think.
Yeah. So there's a person named Gary Francione. He's a professor. I think he's I'm not sure, philosophy professor or he's a professor in one university, and he's also an animal rights advocate. So he talks about abolitionist approach, where basically he talks about how it's not just about cruelty, and that's if we only teach about that aspect, then it's going to be problematic in the long run. We have to put this aspect that animals are individual. We have to stop seeing them as commodities. It's not just about cruelty. So I mean, that hit me, and he also shared some quote from a very ancient Jain book, where it clearly talks about ahimsa means respecting all living beings, all existing sentient, like there's multiple items in this. So that was the time I had this connection that all dairy. I mean, though I wasn't taking it, but I was under this impression, and that time I decided, okay, all dairies are going to be problematic. Dairy from anywhere is going to be problematic.
So essentially, it was an activist that made you go vegan because he is an animal rights activist.
No, I went vegan a year before.
Oh, okay.
This only strengthened my idea. Like at this time, I became abolitionist. I wasn't abolitionist before that.
Okay. Yeah. When did you first become involved in activism, and what activism was it?
So while I was in Milpitas in California, I visited DXC once in Berkeley. Like there was a session at someone's house, and there's a person called Rennie. She runs a cow sanctuary. She was basically a beef rancher, and she converted her place into a cow sanctuary, and she visited Bay Area that time. So that time I also met Wayne Swing and other people there, and they used to invite me for the DXC activism there, but I wasn't sure because I was afraid, like, okay, these are legal activity. I mean, there are laws associated with it, and there's issues of deportation and stuff. So, and also it was like 60 kilometers from my house. So, but I was active, not not dedicated activist. And when I came back to India in 2017, with that mindset that I'm going to do more than what I'm just doing right now. So I landed in India in Bangalore. There's a page called, there's a group called Vegan Bangalore, and I posted on it like asking if this something goes on here. And there's a friend of mine called Richa Thomas. She's also a part of Vegan India movement. So she commented like, we do outreaches here, and that was the start. And I joined the outreach. First time I was aggressive, and I was asking questions from people, but in an aggressive manner. And so, and her sister, she was like, "Who's this person now? Why is she showing a lot of aggression to people?" But she understood, like her sister understood this, and she was like, okay, I mean, what do you think, we need to make changes and stuff. And she got me involved in the very first time, and there was the time, and then I just, like, we just keep doing outreaches more regularly, and then we decided in 2018 that we have to make our own identity so that we can get more and more people connected and make it more organized. So yeah, 2017 was my time when I started dedicated activism.
And did you have any blocks? Did you have anything stopping you, like work or anxiety, or were you nervous about it, or anything you had to get over to start activism?
Not really. Like, I mean, I have been person who would stand for justice, like irrespect, doesn't really matter. I never got nervous speaking for justice. So yeah, I mean, that wasn't my problem. And I mean, I had my priorities. I mean, that's the reason I moved back to India, because I wanted to do more than what I've been doing. Like, I was mainly focusing on work in California and was involved in sports and stuff, but I wasn't getting enough satisfaction because I'm not meant to be just doing that. So yeah, I came here with a purpose, and luckily I got associated with very quick. And yeah, I got good activism around me who are dedicated and passionate, and that just triggered the thing to me. And yeah, I have been doing dedicated activism from then on.
That's what I love most about animal rights activism, is the community that you build around you, and the friendships that you create. I was out on Friday night at a cube that I did in Bristol, and there was 14 of us there, so 13 activists turned up, and it was just so lovely to feel supported and to be inspired by other activists. It's a lovely.
Yeah, definitely. There are people who inspire you regularly, like who makes you feel that we have to do much more. And then, of course, non-human animals remind us every day that we are not doing enough.
Yeah, exactly. What form of activism do you love the most? What suits you the best?
So I love conversing with people because I mean, I have, of course, I've done my own training to become a better listener, and so thus I like conversing with people, mostly on street outreaches, because there people are more open to listening. They also realize your efforts, and they see whatever coming from you as mostly truth, unlike when you talk to them online, because then they just feel that someone is behind the keyboard is typing something, and they don't really think that the people are dedicated to the cause they are talking about. So yeah, I mean, street outreaches are my most loved form of activism, or speaking to people in general. That's what I'm good at, and that's what I feel is suits me best as well.
And it's when you get that connection with that person you're speaking to as well, that member of the public. Right. You can see it's like a penny drops behind their eyes, and you can see it. They've got it.
Yeah, and I mean, I have knowledge of other things as well, like culture and religion and philosophy. Thus, it becomes much easier for me to like connect to people, because even if they are going on tangent, I can understand like where they are coming from and what they are putting out. And I mean, also visiting a lot of places, like rural places, also helped, because that also gave me the reality which I wasn't aware of. Like, I had idea of what's going on, but what exactly is going on, when we put that out in front of people, they are more likely to connect with us. They are more likely to understand our words as truth, and thus they are more likely to change.
100%
so,
agree.
Yeah. So that's,
and how do you fit it into your life, because you work and you're married? Yeah. So how do you fit your activism around your life?
So I'm lucky, or I can say, probably lucky that my family supports my activism, and both of my sister have gone vegan. My wife is almost there; she's almost vegan. My mother, she's almost there. She don't make any dairy dishes at home, and whenever she goes out, she also avoids it. And my father have also started avoiding dairy at home as well. So yeah, I mean, my family, even if they consume dairy, they support what I'm saying. They are not against me. Like, even my cousins, and so that's a plus with me, that I get a lot of support from my family. And yeah, that kind of helps
Yeah.
to balance everything, because they understand why I'm doing this.
Exactly. I'm saying my husband doesn't do activism. He is vegan, but I
Uh-huh.
call him my activist enabler. He's
Uh-huh.
without him, I wouldn't be able to put in the hours that I do.
Right.
He's very
Uh-huh.
understanding and supportive. So
And my mother lately have started one form of activism by uh, making a lot of traditional dishes vegan, like, or traditional sweets vegan. And we have a page running for that called Ahimsa Rasoi. So yeah, I mean, they are also not just becoming vegan; they are also doing some form of activism, whatever suits to them.
brilliant. That's great news. It's good that you've been able to influence your family. I have not been able to influence
Yeah.
my family at all, which is
I think, I mean, it wasn't me who influenced them. It was basically uh, their philosophical idea of ahimsa, and I just needed to put the truth in the right manner to them so that they can understand it, and just go over the societal manipulation. That's all I needed to do, and that's what happened. And also, there are a lot of, I mean, in India, in some places, there are laws against cow slaughter and calf slaughter. And in my state, there are laws particularly for cow and, I mean, against calf and cow slaughter. We have a lot of calves in our roads, and they're mainly male calves, because, dairy people, they just dump them. So these calves probably helped them connect more than what I did, because they realized what I was saying is actually true, and these calves are suffering. So yeah, I mean, it was, they became vegan themselves. I just helped them become one. That's all.
you just sowed a seed, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And how can people find out about your events?
So basically, we have a page called Vegan India Movement. So that's basically do event every month. But due to lockdown, we have been doing a lot more events, because all of them are online now. So we do one live session with uh, uh, famous activists in India. Then we do a webinar to support the vegan movement across the country. Then we do a campaign, and we do treat activism, where basically we try to trend certain topics so that people start talking about it. So that's these are the basically 4 items we are doing currently. So we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And another group which I co-founded called Bangalore Brigade for Animal Liberation. That's particular for Bangalore. It's a city in Karnataka. And yeah, if they want to join Bangalore activism, they can write to the page, or and we are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. Or they can directly approach me. I mean, they can email goveganwithbbal@gmail.com to approach Bangalore-based group. To write to Vegan India Movement group, they have to write to veganindiamovement@gmail.com.
Okay.
And yeah, and we can get them connected to whatever cities they belong to.
Brilliant. I'll pop links to all of those in the description so people can find you. I think it's really important to be able to reach out to people and know where to look.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did some
right.
research, and people said they don't get involved in activism because they don't know how to. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And then yeah, I mean, there's another problem where, like, there are a lot of ideological clashes. Though we all agree on animal rights, but then on other things there might be, I mean, yeah, there might be some not alignment, and we have to understand that that's going to be there, and that shouldn't be cause for our fight, because we have come together for animal rights. Of course, that doesn't mean we should support oppression for humans.
Yeah.
Of course, that doesn't mean that. But we need to understand at the same time that we are not going to be same ideologically. I mean, there are people going to be theists, there are people going to be atheists, and there are people coming from all walks of society.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've had our youngest activist that we have coming to Cubes is about 18, and our oldest is 82. So
right, yeah,
massive difference in age.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, backgrounds. Yeah. And to vegans out there that aren't yet active and aren't doing any activism, what would you say to encourage them, and why is it important for vegans to be active to you?
So if they read about any social justice movement, all it takes is 3% of vocal people. Vocal minority run the world, not the majority. Silent majority do not run the world. Vocal minority do. So if you are not vocal for animals, you're not doing enough, and you're also obligated for the same, because in the past we have all participated in their suffering, even unintentionally, but we did, and thus we are obligated to pay even repairments. And these reparation could be building sanctuary for them, talking about them actively, and whatever forms you can pay these reparation, we are obligated to do that. So uh, yeah, get vocal for them, because and it's not that we we are talking for them. All we are doing is making their fights more louder, so that other people see the truth. It's the animal who are fighting. We are just being their allies. We are just being their friends who are trying to bring their voices to other people. That's all we are doing. So it's our duty to do this in a world where being non-vegan is normal. And second thing is, we all should have hope, because if you don't have hope, then it's not gonna work. We have to understand, if people are capable, if majority of people are capable to understand that slavery was wrong, if majority of people are capable to understand that sexism is wrong, then majority of people are capable to understand that violating animal rights or abusing animals is wrong, and thus don't lose that hope. I mean, yes, there are a lot of condition happen from various items and from various direction, and not everyone is going to be so strong to just overcome these overcome these brainwashes or manipulation by society. Thus we have also have to support them to get over these hurdles. So yeah, we have to give them hope. We have to have a hope when we talk to people, and we have to provide them support in order to be able to cross these hurdles. And once they have done that, they are on our side. And thirdly, most importantly, is animals don't care why someone have become vegan. But eventually, if they don't become ethical vegan, then it's not going to be good in the long run. So make sure that you get people from any through any gate, from gate of environment, health, or ethics, but let them teach about ethics eventually, because if that doesn't happen, they are not going to understand animal rights, and they probably wouldn't be able to support the movement in long term. They'll be only able to support in short term, which is also, I mean, beneficial. It's not that it's not going to be helpful, because there are plant-based companies who will get some plus, because there are more people buying their products and stuff. That's there. And but in a long run, if we really want to eradicate animal abuse, then we have to make sure that eventually we make people ethical vegan.
Yeah, well, the same. I think about, and I think I talk about it in every one of my videos, but about 1% of vegans are active, and we're such a small minority of the world anyway. But
right.
A friend of mine that I interviewed recently, Muin Mippy, she said if we had 50% of vegans were active, we would have a vegan world last week. Because if every vegan turns someone else vegan, then it will just grow and grow and grow.
Right, right.
Yeah, being vegans are
yeah. When we say vegan world, means majority of people. Of course, not everyone is going to be vegan. Just like we still have human criminals, so we will have people who would do crimes against animals as well. But majority of people won't be.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the law taking our side. Yeah, right.
Exactly. Like 90% of the world's vegan. That would be great.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Brilliant. Thanks again for joining me.
Yeah. And one more item I just want to talk about is, when we talk to people, talk about animals as they are humans, because then that's the only way they'll be able to understand what's going. Yeah, you can use whatever ways to bring them to that stage, or to bring them on that page, but eventually you should talk about that, because that will remove the commodification of towards animals. And it's not that when vegans give up animal products that we are actually influencing demand and thus making world vegan. It's not our demand which makes world vegan. It's our stand which makes world vegan. We have to run a non-cooperation movement. That's the only way we can actually get the vegan world, not by asking people to reduce their consumption. But that doesn't, really do much unless a lot of people are doing that. Yeah. And that's not the case anyways.
No, I had a conversation with a non-vegan last night, and they said, surely if I'm eating meat, like, just, I've cut out meat 2 days a week and I'm eating vegan 2 days a week, that's a good thing. And I was like, no. I said, if I'm beating my husband 1 day a week instead of does that make it okay? Like,
yeah.
There's still animals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to understand that we are not doing any mercy on animals or any good deed on animal by becoming vegan. It's our obligation. It's a moral stance, and just like we don't want to abuse children or women or people from suppressed groups, oppressed groups, same way we shouldn't be oppressing animals or abusing them. It's as easy as it gets.
I agree, 100%. Well, thank you for joining me, and hopefully people will get in touch, and this will inspire some people in your local area to contact you and get in touch with you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thanks again. Namaste.
Yeah. Namaste. Bye.
Bye, Nitin. So I hope you enjoyed that. Some really wise words in the last few moments of that video of why it's important to get involved and why we need more vegans being active for the animals. There should be more of us out there. There's not enough. And if you are having any issues that you want to talk about, any struggles getting involved in activism, then send me a message on Instagram. I'll try and help if I can. If you have been inspired by this video to get involved in activism or reach out to Nitin, then drop a comment down below. I'd love to know how you're getting on. I want to say a massive thank you to my Patreons that support me on my Patreon page. If you do want to support me and you like the content that I make, please check it out. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like and share this video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.